Welcome to this edition of Thai Food. Today we're doing ribs. And I got a pulled pork over here. Well, not pulled pork yet, but it will be. So what I have here is, it's kind of like a pork spare rib. Some people know it as a St. Louis cut. Down here they call it pork spare ribs. This is a cut I prefer because not only is it cheaper per pound, but I feel like you get more meat out of it per pound than you do baby backs. Some people prefer the baby backs. That's your choice. Me, I've got this one. So for preparing this, I pull it out of the package. You can see I got it sitting on some paper towels here. I've blotted the back side of the paper towel of it with paper towel as well. And there's this membrane here. And if you watch Food Network, some people leave this, some people take it off. I've had it both ways. I prefer it with it off. I feel like you get a more tender rib when you cook it. It pulls apart easier, cooks quicker, it seems like. But it just all around becomes more tender to me. Easier to pull it off the bone than to have this membrane intact. I've already done this one. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do it. I just take the knife, find the bone, run it on there, and you just make a cut motion to peel it up like this. Now if you go ahead and try to pull that like that, you're going to be fighting with it. Trick, use a paper towel and you can get a hold of it. Once you get a hold of it, pull. And now you got cat scraps. In my case, dog scraps if you got a dog. If you don't have either, throw it out in the woods, something will eat it. But didn't quite get all of it, but you can see I just got under it again, and this one I was able to grab by hand, and there we go. That's all there is to it. Now the rest I'm going to do, I almost dropped that on the floor prematurely. Alright, put that over here. I'll get that after. My go-to, black gold. Give it a little shake. Drizzle it on here, rub the meat. You only want to use as much as you need to. If you're feeling a little bound up, you can use a little extra if you want. It'll clear you right out, trust me. But once you get used to it, it's not so bad. It's just getting used to it at first. And sometimes I go a little bit without having any for a while. And like I said, it will clean you out if you use too much. That's how I know I'm using too much. But this will help tenderize this rib as it's cooking as well. Not only that, but it gives some moisture for the rub to start adhering to that we're going to make for this. I'll do that side when I flip it over. Just want to squirt a little bit on as you work it and rub it. You know, more or less just rubbing it to help work it into the meat a little bit, but also to spread it around so I'm not using so much of it. And the other purpose of taking that membrane off is, again, the rub that you put on the back side of the bones here, that'll be able to penetrate the back side now a lot easier than it would if you had that membrane there. Now I've also seen people where they take a knife and they just score the membrane, put slices in it, and open it up that way. Preference, whatever you decide you want to do at that moment, do it. Let me wash my hand real quick. Here we are. Grab a towel. Alright, now we're going to do a quick mixture for the rub that I'm going to put on this. And what I have here, it claims it's Montreal steak, but don't be fooled. This is my own personal concoction. Everybody who does any sort of barbecuing, they all have their own personal concoction of some sort. But basically what I've got in here is, there is Montreal steak seasoning in this. Applewood rub by McCormick's. I've got some smoked paprika in here, granulated garlic, granulated onion, and cumin. Ground cumin is in this. And that's, I use it as like an all-purpose steak seasoning. You can put it on your steak, grill it. It's good that way. Sometimes I'm a purist. The other night I did steaks and I only put some granulated garlic, granulated onion on it. And I had some Buck seasoning, low sodium, kicking around. Most everyone up in New York knows about Buck seasoning. So I'm going to go ahead and, we got a half a cup here for the measuring cup size. I'm going to do 2 of these in here. It's going to make quite a bit of rub, but it should be enough to cover everything, I hope. If not, I'll have to mix a little more. Okay, so there's a cup of that. And to that, I'm going to add some brown sugar. Because the brown sugar is going to play real nice with the amount of salt that's in this seasoning. Now, believe me, there's nowhere near the amount of salt in this that there is in the low sodium Buck seasoning. That stuff is loaded with salt. I think it's mostly salt and a little bit of spice. But got light brown sugar here. You want to pack it into the cup really good. Get a nice packed cup. So there's a half cup. And I'm going to do another quarter cup. So we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of that to 1 cup of the seasoning. And this will give a nice caramelization to the ribs and everything. And it'll play really well with my barbecue sauce that I'm going to put on these later. Which I of course make myself. And I'm sure a few of my viewers that are going to watch this video have definitely tried it. And I'm kind of holding out on that one. That's the whole reason I started these videos, was because of my barbecue sauce. If I can get enough viewers and enough subscriptions, and I hear you can get some money off of these videos, I'm hoping to take that money and start bottling and selling this barbecue sauce. So there we go for that. Now I got a fork here because I like to break the clumps up, and it helps break everything up nicely as you mix it. You can mix it several different ways. You can probably put it in a food processor and, you know, run it through that as much as you want. And however you want to do it, really. Now, I'm sure you were thinking when I mentioned the Applewood rub and the Montreal steak seasoning that those are some coarse spices, and this blend looks nowhere near that coarse. And that's because it's not anymore. I have a coffee bean grinder that I bought specifically for doing spices. And I mixed everything up, and as I mixed it up, I put it through that coffee bean grinder, and it ground up all the big pieces and chunks and everything into a nice fine powder. Made quite the mess too, if you didn't get that sealed good enough. But the end result was that mixture being in powder form, and that way there it's easier to spread on it, and you don't have all these big clumps falling off. Usually works pretty good that way. It'll stick a lot better. Just making sure I get all my brown sugar clumps broken up pretty good in here and mixed in. I don't want too many clumps, you know. Have too much of something in one area. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. It's kind of like Russian roulette. You never know what you're going to get. Or a box of chocolates if you want to go that route. It is food. I can smell the cumin coming right off of this as I'm mixing it. And it's not too much cumin either, it's just, it's potent. And that looks pretty good right there. So now that I got this all pretty well broken up, I already got my smoker up and going out in the backyard. And we're just going to take and sprinkle a little bit of this on. You can see it's got a lot of brown sugar in it. that's okay. That sugar will melt right on there nicely. And this side I'm not going to really season too heavily. I mean, I want the flavor on this side, but you don't want to overkill it, because then when you flip it over, whatever doesn't stick just falls through the grates anyways and makes a mess in the grill. So that's probably good for that. You can see I had this piece flipped up earlier. I want to get the rub underneath that, because that's going to help season that in there and hold the flavor in. Just flip it right back over just like so for cooking. Just want to, give it a good coat, of course. Like I said, I'm going to coat the top side a lot better than the back side here, and just kind of pat it in there, get it going, help it soak up some of that moisture on the surface here from the black gold. That'll help that caramelization process that I'm looking for as it's cooking. Now I plan on going right to the smoker after I get everything seasoned here with this, and what that's going to do for us is I've got it on the smoke setting, and the smoke setting on that is, I think it's around 150 degrees. I haven't actually used it yet. I just got this smoker the other day, and the one I had before this I do not recommend. If you see a big horn pellet grill, walk away. Just walk away. Too many issues. I went with the actually I can't even remember what brand it was. Do you remember what brand that is, honey? Pit Boss, I think it is.
Pit Boss Professional Series.
Yeah, it's the Pit Boss. And of course, I had to have the big one because, if you're going to do a smoking trio like I am here, you need the surface area. So we ended up going with the Professional Series, as my wife stated, because it's about a 36-inch wide cooking surface, which is more than the standard person would need, but when I do this, I kind of go all out. So, I got probably almost 9 pounds of rib here, and the pork butt's another 8.5 pounds, pretty close. And the pork butt's a bone-in, and I've done bone-in, I've done boneless, and it's all preference on what you want. If you don't feel like dealing with the bone, then go boneless. I like it either way, and I'm pretty much the only one that's going to eat that around here, so I'll have some good lunches for the next couple of weeks on and off. I'll probably take and freeze some of it anyways. Go ahead at this point and peel this off of here. I'm going to stack them for now so I can move this out of my way. Set that there temporarily. And this is what I'm going to put the ribs on to take them out to the grill. And it's a little undersized, but it's going to do the job here. Work with what you got sometimes. Kind of overhang it a little bit, and I'll just give the counter a good wash after I'm done here. Sounds like I'm going to have to clean the floor too. Heard something fall. Alrighty. Get this on here so I can... Alrighty. Just set that there for the kitties. They really like that. Throw this in the garbage real quick. Alrighty. Might as well slide it down. Alright, I'm going to have to wash my black gold bottle when I'm done here, but this is just the easiest way to do it, unless you want to wash your hands 20 million times. I find it's easier to wash the bottle than take the time to wash my hands sometimes. And then, it keeps the bath outside of the bottle clean too. So, 2 for 1. That looks pretty good there. And see, I'm trying not to do too much as it runs off onto the counter. Good thing the counter's cleaned. Can't imagine what it'd be like if it wasn't. But, little dribble here and there. work it in. That looks pretty good there. And here's that pork butt you've been hearing so much about. I went ahead and did the same thing with this, with the paper towel. And I'm going to put the fat side down at the moment on this, because that eventually I want to end up on top. And then I'll pull this out of the bowl with a nice set of restaurant quality tongs that I got and go right onto the smoker with it. So let's go ahead and give this some black gold rub down here. And that's going to help penetrate into this and, you know, add flavor and everything. You want to get it all around. Just everywhere you're going to have your rub, you want the black gold to touch. I'll rotate it over. Get this fat cap really good. And it'll definitely flavor this without any problem. And when I first started using this, I was skeptical, you know, if it really imparted that much flavor. So, since my wife wasn't quite used to it yet at the time, when she cooked dinner, I could tell immediately that she didn't use the black gold on my steak. I could tell instantly. It was missing something. And I'd ask her and she's like, no, I forgot it. But now she doesn't want to cook without it, so it's not a bad thing. You get used to the flavor it imparts. So we're going to go ahead and give this some seasoning here. And then we're pretty much going to be all set to go right to the smoker with these after this. And they don't need a heavy amount of seasoning, really. I mean, it'll flavor it. It'll definitely flavor it. And if I was just doing a strict dry rub on this, I would probably, you know, use a little bit more. But I plan on mixing my homemade cherry and blackberry barbecue sauce with this. And it's not cherry and blackberry together. They're each their own. The one is a seedless blackberry, and the other one is, you know, cherry. And the cherry's the first one I made. And I'm sure you're saying, well, why don't you do a video on it? Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm going to keep that one for myself, because if I do the video and give you my secrets on it, then you'll start making it and you won't buy it when I start bottling it. Kind of like the black gold at the moment. You know, I'm thinking about bottling that and selling it, but I got to get more opinions on it other than, you know, close friends and whatnot, because I know my close friends and relatives like it. I mean, why else would they be asking me for more of it? My one friend's wife, she's a good friend of mine now too. She refers to it as liquid crack because it's addicting. And I've got them hooked on it now too. And then my cousin Bobby and his wife, I know my cousin Bobby's been using it with his cooking. When I stayed with them briefly when I was up in that area working, I introduced him to it. That, and he's tried my cherry barbecue sauce. And then there's my good buddy and coworker Tommy Reichard. He's asking me constantly for some more of that barbecue sauce. I took him some of the blackberry the last time I was up in New York working, so he got to try that one. He said he's still partial to my original cherry, but it was good. So, pretty much got these seasoned up just enough, and it looks like I might have to mix up some more seasoning for the pork butt. So, it is what it is, you know. Try not to use too much on these, but I want them to have a good coating as well. Make sure they get plenty of flavor here. And you can see the color difference as it soaks up the moisture in here. It gets dark and sticks to my fingers too. So I'm going to have to mix up another little bit of seasoning here and get the seasoning on my pork butt. And I'm just going to sprinkle that all around and rub it good and all that, and then go right to the smoker with everything. But you get the gist of what I'm doing here, and thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a little bell on there that you can click, and it'll notify you every time I post a new video like this one. And check out my Facebook group, Thai Food. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Have a good one.